Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar series, Mind Your Business. On behalf of the Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Industry and Commerce, my name is Ramon Gregorio, and I'm the president of the Greater Tunapuna Chamber of Industry and Commerce. And we look forward to welcoming you to our Mind Your Business series. Today's series is about marketing and advertising. And we have a very good friend of mine, Mr. Brevard Nelson, who will be guiding us through his experience, his journey in marketing and advertising. But who is Brevard Nelson? And before we start, just like to introduce Mr. Nelson and give you some background as to who our speaker is this afternoon. So Brevard Nelson is the co-founder and director of Caribbean Ideas Limited and managing director of Synapse, a company dedicated to helping Caribbean brands and businesses become more globally successful and influential through the power of technology and modern marketing techniques. Brevard has a unique blend of marketing and corporate communications talent, IT expertise, seasoned with an entrepreneurial spirit. Before moving into full-time work at Caribbean Ideas Limited, he functioned for over 10 years in various roles within the Guardian Holdings Group, culminating as Group Corporate Communications Manager. Caribbean Ideas has served many blue-chip regional and international businesses and won multiple awards, including the Addies, the Hidden Champion Award by the IDB and the Korean Exim Bank, Service Provider of the Year 2015 by the TTCSI. In 2022, Brevard was also appointed as an independent director on the board of directors of Trinidad and Tobago Unit Trust Corporation. In addition to his professional work, Brevard is passionate about giving back, specifically in ways that impact youth and develop the Caribbean. He served in multiple roles on the executive of the St. Mary's College Par Students Union over the last 15 years, including being president from 2018 to 2021. And was the founding president of the community-based Rotaract Club of St. Augustine West. Brevard completed an executive education program at the Harvard Business School and holds a master's degree in international marketing communications from the London Metropolitan University, a master's in management from the ESCM Business School, CEM Business School in France, and holds an undergraduate business degree from the University of the West Indies. He also completed a certificate program in FinTech, Foundations and Applications from the Wharton Business School, and is currently pursuing a Master of Laws at the University of London. So quite an accomplished gentleman. One of the things Brevard left out, I would say, is a good past alumni of the Pure Anglican Primary School, one of the best primary schools in the country that we had the benefit of attending. But that's a conversation for another time. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Brevard Nelson, founder, CEO, managing director of Caribbean Ideas Synapse. The floor is yours, Brevard.
All right, thank you, Ramon, for that introduction. Much appreciated. And good evening to all of the participants for this webinar this evening. Just let me know by a show of hands or reactions if you're seeing my screen at this point in time. Yes? Okay, cool, awesome. All right, so in today's rapidly evolving business landscape, modern entrepreneurs like yourselves need to really have a diverse set of skills to navigate challenges and seize opportunities and drive success overall. So whether that is, left brain skills like analytical skills, logical reasoning, mathematical proficiency. My dad was a math teacher, so I'm somewhat biased there. Technical competence or strategic planning, or whether it is also right brain skills like creativity and innovation, verbal and written communication skills, emotional intelligence, visualization and imagination, as well as intuition and insight. It's important that you live in both hemispheres. Operating only in one hemisphere is not enough. So sometimes a lot of entrepreneurs tend to really only focus on their product, executing their product or service and getting that out the door, which is good. That's important. But it's now, especially given the demands of your customers, they expect more from you and they expect you to also live in both hemispheres, left and right brain. And so a couple key truths of our reality today is that coming out of the pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, that certainly has impacted every aspect of our lives, whether the way we work, play, transact, communicate, interact with each other, practically everything. And overall, we were forced to learn, grow, and evolve. Now, the pandemic, in my view, acted like a catalyst or a forcing function for many of the technological laggards, right? So there are a lot of people who, you know, some of our clients, some people that I know, they would have never actually had a meeting online. They always prefer to have an in-person meeting, and there's nothing wrong with an in-person meeting. There are pros and cons. But because it was mandated and practically the only way to operate within the pandemic, many people I view the pandemic as an accelerator to getting people on to these technological platforms. Also, a key truth is your customers have evolved. And if you haven't, you can be left behind by your customers. If you just think about your own evolution during the pandemic and your change in media consumption and content patterns during that time period, let alone over the last 5 years, then you'd realize that you yourself have shifted in terms of how you consume content, and therefore you should reasonably expect that your customers have also evolved. And if they have evolved and you haven't, then you run the risk of losing them. So it is important to understand how they have evolved and how you need to change your own strategy or your mix to ensure that you continue to reach out and engage them. Customer centricity is of paramount importance. Many companies have been paying lip service to just, you know, we're customer centric, and yes, we have a customer at our center, but it is something that the customers demand now. The hyper-connected consumer expects more. They expect that you have data on them. They expect personalization. They don't expect email blasts to whom it may concern or their customer. They expect that you have my data, you know, their Brevard. You not only know, well, okay, yes, you can give the salutation, but you understand my transaction habits, my behavioral patterns, my likes and wants, so that you can customize content that reaches to me and speaks to me. And lastly, digital transformation is non-negotiable. If you don't adopt digital transformation, you will be left behind. That's really just the bottom line. And we're already seeing that with some companies that are slow to adopt certain tools or innovations, or even automating some aspects. They're unable to scale quickly and therefore are left behind because, you know, customers are less tolerant, as I mentioned. So over the years, over the last 20 years of my career, I've been working with many marketers and entrepreneurs. And especially over the last 5 years, pre and post pandemic, I've seen many entrepreneurs and particularly marketing managers struggle with the acceleration that is needed for success. So what I did, I decided to create an ebook. I wrote an ebook to share some insights and observations. I call it the 5 M's of modern marketing. And I group all of these points under these 5 M's of modern marketing, and I'll use that as the framework for the webinar today. Now, there's a lot to cover in each one of these, so we don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to try to really skip through as much of it as possible. In the end, I'll tell you how you could download it. It's a free ebook, as well as how you can gain access to multiple other free pieces of content. The 5 M's are really fairly straightforward. Your master plan, your market, media mix, the material or content that you create, and measurement. And there's a bonus M. I'm partially biased towards technology. There's a bonus M that I am actually going to include in my updated ebook, which speaks to marketing technology. So for each of these pillars, the first one being the master plan. Well, what is, in terms of your master plan, what are you doing to create your strategy? Is it static, or does it have the appropriate feedback loops that allows for optimization to help inform the changes that are needed? in terms of your market? Do you understand your market? Do you understand who your target audience is, who you're speaking to? Have you researched it properly? Have you engaged the services of companies like Lucid Research, etc., or even done your own research using surveys, etc.? Are you using that data to update your understanding of your market and customize your approach? Or are you just hoping that, well, you put out content or you put out a post and hope that everybody that sees it and interacts with it will convert to become a customer? And no longer, because there's so much clutter in the market, your target audience really needs something that is speaking to them to stand out. In terms of your marketing mix, is your mix heavily concentrated on only one or two channels? Or, is it more of a spray and pray approach? Or let's just do everything on every channel and hope that something sticks? And again, because of the noise, this is the least effective approach. You'll actually get better bang for your buck if you you're laser focused on specific channels and specific types of content on those channels where your audience is spending their time. Do you have a healthy online and offline mix, for example? Sometimes people tend to be skewed towards their favorite channels, TV, press, radio, or what have you, or only Facebook. But you need to determine what is the ideal mix, online and offline, and ensure that you're using the right channels for your audience. In terms of material, what material or content are you creating for your audience? Are you using the right type of content on the right channel? It's all well and good for you to choose the right channel, but if you're not creating content that is suitable for that channel, you would also seem somewhat irrelevant and awkward, almost like if you don't understand how to use the platform to your audience. And the last M is measurement. Have you put the appropriate systems in place to capture the right data to measure success? Can you also now attribute sales or conversion to your marketing efforts? It's all well and good to say, well, yes, I invested X number of dollars in this particular marketing effort. But again, with digital platforms, you have the ability to track all the way through and attribute your spend and the effort on that particular channel to the conversion that you see. And all of this, in my view, is laid on a foundation of marketing technology. Over the years, technology has evolved so much so that for marketers and even for entrepreneurs, especially as you are working with most times a limited budget, you can adopt and use your own marketing stack to enable your interaction with your audience and automate many aspects of marketing without actually having to hire an agency or hire a marketing professional or freelancer. There are many things that you can set up and utilize out of the box that would allow you to engage your audience easily. Right, so we're just going to step through each of these really quickly, and I do still want to leave some time in the end for some questions and so on after. So in terms of the master plan, you'll be surprised how many entrepreneurs or marketers, if you ask them, okay, what's your strategy? And they will tell you, well, yeah, we're target everybody, or their target audience is 18 to 65, male or female, male and female, right? Or the classic, we just got handed a budget, or we just this is what is left over from or development or whatever, and this is what we're going to use for marketing. So it almost seems as an afterthought, right? But here are some key questions that you need to ask yourself as you're building your own marketing strategy. Is it really connected to your overall business strategy, right? Sometimes people tend to create a marketing strategy as disconnected to your overall business objective. You may be looking to, yes, obviously drive revenue and scale over a period of time. So your marketing efforts may need to be segmented in phases, and based on the phases and based on your specific business objectives, you are adopting those strategies as you go forward. You know, are you building it from scratch or are you continuing? So is it that you now start your startup and you're now starting a business and you therefore need to build from scratch? Or, you know, you're going concern, you're 5, 10, 15 years on, and you're building on last year's success or failure. And that's important because sometimes people view every single fiscal year as a brand new year and they're just trying the same strategies that maybe didn't work last year. So it's important to take the learnings and the data from, you know, your campaigns from the prior years and infuse that with any additional data that you may have captured so that you could ensure your success on the marketing strategy front. Are you targeting the right audience, right? Not because you are custom targeting this particular audience throughout your business life. You think that, yes, that is the right audience. Maybe there's an underserved market that, you know, you're seeing that your competitors are not serving. And therefore, it might be the best opportunity for you to pivot and actually gain some ground in the blue ocean that is left there because no one is servicing them. So understanding your audience and who is your right or optimum audience is important because you may actually be able to scale very quickly, especially if they are underserved markets. What have your audience's, you know, habits and behavioral patterns changed, right? With the advent of various platforms, have they shifted, right? I know some people just decide, well, you know what, I'm going to create, you think about a marketing strategy, I'm going to set up a TikTok account because TikTok is the platform that I think is popular. And I'll tell you why you need to have a more structured approach in terms of choosing your media mix in a bit. We had to talk some of our clients off the ledge from, you know, using Snapchat, right? When Snapchat came out, everybody's like, yes, Snapchat, we need to use that. But again, if your audience is not there, then it really doesn't make sense going and trying to create a presence there because one, you'll be speaking to no one, but then two, you'd almost feel like a misfit and feel like if you don't really understand your audience and who you're targeting. Do you have KPIs? Some people operate and execute their marketing strategies, you know, blowing in the wind. You ideally from the start need to set KPIs so that you are working towards specific targets every year, every quarter at a particular cadence systematically. So once you're looking at your data, which you have an abundance in your different platforms, that allows you to course correct as needed as you're navigating through the choppy competitive waters. And lastly, how are you measuring performance, right? You know, it's all well and good to go and execute something, but the only way for you to know if it works and know if your experiments are actually working is to measure the performance of it, movement on the needle on your KPIs, and then optimize as you go forward. You know, so having a master plan is critical, right? Think of your strategy as, you know, a hypothesis, your own hypothesis, and each of your campaigns are like experiments just to help you test and learn and optimize. You know, sometimes people just think about your campaign, hey, I need to do a campaign now to push some sales, or I need to do a campaign now to like build awareness. But if you take a step back, and especially at the start of your year, whatever your calendar year is, and determine what are my objectives for this year? What do I need to do and push? And what is my central hypothesis that I want to test about my market? And here are the series of campaigns that I'm going to run every quarter, every month. And how am I going to take the learnings and the data from each of those campaigns and experiments to learn and then optimize? That will allow you to be successful and allow you to really refine the strategies that you executed. it's also important to get as granular as possible, but also avoid analysis paralysis, right? I know some people tend to like to overthink things, and I sometimes fall into that trap where I'm thinking about what to do, what needs to be done, etc. But you really do need to push yourself to action. The beautiful thing is that the tools that are at your disposal allow you to test, learn, iterate, and actually get quick learnings so that you can drill down and optimize. Whereas before, with other traditional channels, you really didn't have that opportunity. If you want to set a press ad to go into the press one day and it comes out the next day, you would only know by the next day, and worse yet, when a survey is done, whether or not that ad was successful. Now you literally in real time can do A/B testing, what is known as A/B testing, and put out 2, 3, 5 versions of your ads and determine based on the data which one is performing the best, and like stop the ones that are not, and literally just double down or triple down on the ones that are performing well, right? And so with those types of tools at your disposal, it is important that you leverage that as you are crafting your strategy, right? And the evolutions that we have seen in marketing over the years have created many advantages. So obviously, elevating customers' brand experiences because they're able to interact with multiple touch points with your brand. So whereas you might have had a storefront only, and your only interaction with your customer is in your storefront, now, if you have an Instagram channel, if you have a website, if you have other social platforms, if there's an email newsletter, you have multiple touch points and opportunities to now interact with your customers and create a level of consistency for your brand. It also allows for better personalization, right? And again, as I said at the start, hyper-connected consumers expect, and they're less tolerant of people who are just adopting this spray and pray approach. The more data that you capture and collect from your customers, the more you can start customizing offers for them that really resonate for them. For one of our clients, we've gone, yes, they have thousands of users in their database, but we've gone in and done some deep segmentation. And for each of those micro segments in that database, we have a very specific offer. Those micro segments could easily be a couple dozen people, right? Very small, maybe even a couple hundred. But because we are now able to customize an offer specifically to them, they feel as if, yeah, boy, how they know I actually was looking for this thing, boy? Or how did they know that I was considering a credit card, or I really was about to purchase a house? And that's because there's data from you that they've been leveraging to personalize the content, build a relationship, and ensure that the offer that is sent to you is one that you have a higher propensity to click on and convert on. Right? Omnichannel experiences are fairly standard now. And again, you may have let's say in your space, you might have an upmarket opportunity, or you have an interaction with customers on a face-to-face level, but don't let it end there. You can have them scan some QR code on your table, or capture, obviously, as you have cards, etc. There are ways that you can now connect with them after they leave, because when they're captive, either in front of a computer or on a mobile phone at a later date, you can continue to push content to them, and guess what? Bring them back to your storefront with special offers, right? Obviously, technology has allowed for operational efficiency and scaling, and of course, it helps with faster analysis of that data. The second M, market, right? So, seasoned entrepreneurs and marketers would typically have a clear sense of who their primary market is, primary audience is. And in some cases, even maybe they're secondary and tertiary markets. But just having like broad categories or segments, like I said, 18 to 35, male or female, is not enough. Yes, these broad segments, help with some analysis in aggregate, but observe, yeah, and maybe even helping you with like observation of trends. But if you are targeting a specific segment and you want to truly build a relationship with that audience, you need to go deeper. Like any relationship, you tend to get more brownie points if you understand your audience and you know that you can show that you really understand them. Customers will react in a different way when they really feel like, yeah, wow, these guys understand me. And with the abundance of data, as I mentioned, you can do deeper analysis that allows you to truly understand your audience and create content that resonates with them. Now, I've found the persona building exercise, a very useful one, because personas go a few steps further than just broad market segmentation, right? It allows you to bring these segments to life by highlighting, behavioral patterns, lifestyle changes, and opportunities, socioeconomic, psychographic, and a range of other data that would allow you to create a persona that truly represents your audience. And the more detailed that you get with your personas, that actually helps you now create the kind of content that resonates with them. So some of the key areas are things that would help you with your persona building is, paint a detailed picture. Get as detailed as possible. Understand their consumption patterns, their family composition, the job, career path, etc. Use descriptors. So, while yes, disposable income is a useful qualifier, go deeper than that. Understand what some of their lifestyle habits, their preferences are, so that you would know what is competing with their disposable income. Try to go deeper than just your surface demographic data. Layer on behavioral traits, demeanor, communication preferences, even technology preferences, etc. And once you start understanding this and creating that helps you build the right content for that audience. What is your what is your ideal customer's why, right? I'm a fan of Simon Sinek, and his book Start with the Why is one that resonates with me. And you start with your customer's why, right? Understand why they're buying your product. What are their primary and secondary goals? What are their challenges in life? What product or service what is your product or service actually going to do to help them overcome their challenges? Because it's really about them. It's not about you and your cool product and service that you just launched, but it's really about, what can they do with my product or service that would help them? What's in it for me, right? And just some key stats. I mean, at the end of the day, what you're trying to build with that one-on-one relationship is loyalty, right? And, studies have shown that like 80% of the customers that, of your customers are more likely to make a purchase if a company has a personalized approach, right? And, loyal customers spend 67% more money on a brand than normal customers. And I mean, we all know that it costs more to acquire customers than it is to upsell existing loyal customers. So once you build a relationship with your audience, it's important that you continue to nurture that, retain them, and continue to nurture that relationship so that you build loyalty and continue to upsell them and bring them to become advocates for your brand so that they now start referring people to your product or service. I mean, in the beginning, I sort of alluded to the the fact that as entrepreneurs or as marketers, you kind of need to be part Einstein, part Picasso, right? Right brain, left brain, right? And it's important that as you go through, you are leveraging the data that exists and making data-driven decisions on your audience and your marketing strategy going forward. It's also important to integrate market research, market research data with your own business intelligence data. So some of you may be starting off, so that's fine. You may not have data from your customers. But I've found that a lot of entrepreneurs, business owners, even medium-sized business owners, they capture data, but they don't do anything with it, right? So when you start capturing data from your customers, it's important to know when you do some type of market research and understand the behavioral patterns for your personas, layer on the data that you have, your business intelligence data, right, for your existing customers. And if you combine the empirical data from your research and the data collected from your existing customers, you'll get a much clearer view of your audience, their habits, and most importantly, the type of messaging that you need to craft to resonate with them, right? So once you've created a master plan and you have a better sense of your market, now you need to, you're in a better space to really now choose the media mix for your audience, right? So not just a matter of taking a piece of content and putting it everywhere and you hope your audience sees. But once you understand where your audience spends their time, which your particular target audience and where they spend time, now you focus on the media mix that you can now create content for. So far we've covered the first two, the strategy, a marketing plan, master plan and strategy, and then you're understanding your market. So now let's take a look at the media mix. So to be effective with your marketing, you need to reach and engage your audience where they spend time. Getting this formula wrong also means that you potentially damage your brand and relationship with customers, because customers will start wondering, well, wait, they're really talking to me or they're trying to reach somebody else because they're not speaking to me, right? And again, selfishly, everyone is going to be expecting that you are doing marketing and speaking to me directly. Many folks tend to get the first two steps down, but then they fall short at this stage because they immediately default to the good old faithful media mix, right? Maybe TV, press, radio, digital, a sprinkle of, out of home, posters or what have you, and voila. And then they wonder why the strategy didn't work. But a sophisticated modern marketer understands the media consumption patterns of your target audience and creates a specifically formulated mix to drive results. We sometimes tend to only focus on a few, but there are dozens upon dozens of channels that one can use when you're delivering marketing messages. This is why it's critical to understand the audience and where they spend time. I'm going to go through a list of these potential channels here. It's by no means an exhaustive list, but it's a lot. So I know I won't be able to cover all of it in the allotted time. But just to give you an example, right? Social media platforms. Yeah, people know Instagram, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or X now. But what about even thinking about LinkedIn? Like most people just leave LinkedIn for business networking, etc. But realistically, even if it's B2B or B2C, you can use LinkedIn as a platform to market to your audience and reach them where they're spending their time. And the content that you create on Facebook is not going to be the content that you use on TikTok, for example, right? So understanding the channel that you're using and understanding what resonates with the audience that is on it, that's important. Search engines, obviously, yes. Google, Bing, Yahoo. Content sharing platforms, particularly video, email marketing. There are tons of email marketing tools and platforms that you can leverage, but email in and of itself is a channel that you can use to communicate with your audience on a one-on-one basis. Your website, blogs on your website, if you have a mobile app or even a mobile responsive website, that it can also be a channel, a print media in whatever form, whether that's press or flyers, etc. Broadcast media, both television and radio, outdoor advertising, direct mail. Some people don't think of events as a channel, right? As a media mix. But the reality is that you are creating content within your event or within, let's say, the booth that you may have at an expo or an upmarket or what have you. You are creating a space and interaction for customers directly. So it is a channel, and you do need to think about what is my full spectrum of media channels or channels that I need to use to ensure that I'm reaching my audience. And in combination, so you may have your social media that is driving to your website to get people to sign up for your email newsletter, where you send them an offer to come to your booth in an expo. And that mix then allows you now to connect to your audience and really now drive a customized experience for them. But it's important to understand, again, going back to your audience, who they are, where they spend time, what platforms they frequent, etc. And it's even more critical to understand the performance at each of these channels. And don't be afraid to make changes if you're not seeing any traction or we're not gaining any traction as needed. Influencer marketing is something that has taken off. You're seeing and reading, what is happening with Certified Samson. He's gotten to over 1 million followers on TikTok, and even making it to be quoted by politicians and so forth, right? And so there are many influencers now. Now they are being forced to be a little bit more sophisticated in the type of content that they use, the measurement of their campaigns, etc. We work with a lot of influencers. We also launched a separate company that is specific to influence marketing. And we're seeing influencers as an additional channel that, if managed well, can help you and your brands, right? Podcasts, it's fairly easy and cheap now to create these types of channels. And so you can create your own content, especially if you want to be positioned as a thought leader in the space that you're in. You can start creating content and have it freely available, but use that as a loss leader or a lead generator to drive traffic back to your website, your own channels, and then ultimately convert them. SMS has been around for a while, but sometimes people forget that you can do that, and you can get, there are ways that you can even geo-target with SMS, so you can gain sophistication by using certain platforms. Even Digital has a service where you can say, well, I want to send people who are in San Fernando within this perimeters. I want to send them this SMS message so that they could come into my store or my booth at this particular time. You can get as granular and sophisticated like that now, rather than just sending an SMS blast. And things like augmented reality and VR, like these technologies have existed for years. What people are doing now is leveraging not just the filters on the social platforms, but also even interacting and getting experiential experiences for their customers in their booths at different locations. 4M, material. So this is content, right? So it is important to create content that resonates with your audience, right? And remember, your customers are on a quest to accomplish a set of goals. Your job is to guide your customers on their buyer's journey. If you can provide content for them along the way, they will have a higher propensity to convert. The marketing manager, or you as an entrepreneur, understands, the modern marketer or more sophisticated marketer understands that content helps you build one-on-one relationships with your customer. And once you understand your audience and your media mix, you can now create the right content for the right person or audience at the right time. You see, it's no longer about just creating content and sharing content across platforms. You know, the relevance of your content and to your audience and the stage that they are at is critical. So this is why we would look at the customer journey map and how content and the respective touch points link to that. Right? I'm not going to go through each of these, but you can see where, dependent on the stage that the customer is at, whether they are at awareness, they don't know your brand, they don't know of you, but you need to get the word out. So therefore, word of mouth marketing, traditional advertising, you know, search content, paid content, getting the word out there in that way is helpful. But when they're at the point of making a decision, usually customers gather information and they do their own research, right? They're more sophisticated than just saying, well, oh yeah, that's a good ad, I'll go buy you. They will do their own research. So therefore, providing them with, you know, an ebook, or direct email, or content, a website with more information, all of these things help with their decision-making process and consideration. And then as you go through, you help them with the purchase, yes, either in person or online. But you remember earlier I said it's important to retain them, build loyalty, and also turn them into advocates. So if you start providing offers, you know, every time you purchase, you get a free piece of content or a coupon to your next purchase, etc. You're starting to build loyalty, repeat purchase, and ideally, obviously, if your product is solid, then you'd find that people will start becoming advocates and sharing your content with other customers. Now, in doing so in creating the content, everybody loves a good story, right? And if you can go back again to the customer's why, and you can add some type of emotional connection to the story that you're telling. Sometimes it might be your own story and your own journey as an entrepreneur, and therefore, you know, that truly resonates with your audience, and they will support because you know, it really connected with them. Or in some cases, particularly the Gen Zs and millennials, we've found that companies and brands and entrepreneurs that are speaking about causes, that are speaking about sustainability, protecting the environment, or ensuring that they have some type of sustainable focus on sustainable development goals, we found that some of the younger generations are actually gravitating towards that because they feel as if I'll buy from you because you have the planet in mind, you have, you know, people in mind, etc. You're really concerned about sustainability. And so those are some of the things that, as you're thinking about your content, ensure that you're building content that resonates with the audience, and you have that story, your storytelling in there that connects to your audience. And well, of course, you see some data in here. At the end of the day, you know, content marketers or people who create the kind of content, bottom line, they get additional leads, they get better conversion across the board. Now, when let me just ask a question. You guys can drop it in the chat. When we talk about content, what comes to mind immediately? When somebody say, I'm going to just create some content, what is the immediate thing that comes to mind? You could drop it in the chat. Tell me what you think. What immediately comes to mind when somebody say, yeah, I am going to create some content, either for my site or for for my customers. I am seeing pictures, blog posts, video, ads, posters, voiceover, podcasts. Okay, yes. So all of the above, but I think most times people don't realize how much, how many different types of content exist, right? So, and I'm mapping these now to the buyer's journey as we just went through. And this is, again, not even an exhaustive list, but just to give you a sense of what exists out there. So we're talking a lot of what you mentioned. So blog posts, social media posts, infographics. Sometimes people forget that you can create a easily consumable piece of infographic that will be shared. And most times people share it across multiple platforms. And if your branding is on it, guess what? People are seeing you and your brand tied to this particular piece of content. Videos, podcasts, ebooks, webinars like this. Again, this is a type of content that is created. Newsletters, interactive content like quizzes and polls, etc. All at the awareness stage, all are geared towards helping you. Mind you, there are some things like you can have a podcast that is geared towards helping you make a decision. So more consideration stage, or videos, how-to videos that would be more consideration stage, but just broadly speaking. Consideration set or stage, sorry. Case studies, guides, testimonials, user-generated content, live streams, poll, FAQs and surveys, etc. And to help you with decisions, right? Your demonstrations, both online and offline, free trials. So people give you 15 to 30 days trials for a particular platform, samples, giveaways. They get it into your hands to aid the decision process, right? Discounts. You provide discounts, you offer discounts so you can get the product in the person's hands so that they try it. Because once they try it, at the end of the day, you're hoping that, that the quality is there. You just want them to try it once because they're going to come back, right? And once you know your audience, you shouldn't have a problem with offers and discounts and promotional offers like that, right? And post-purchase stage, again, getting the onboarding process as seamless as possible. Thank you emails, communications, loyalty and rewards is a big one because that, as I mentioned, allows you not just to have the initial customer acquisition and purchase, but now you're increasing their customer lifetime value over a period of time because you're now getting repeat sales, right? And you're pushing offers to them. And guess what? You're also getting more and more data because as customers join and they transact with you, if your platform is sophisticated enough to capture that data, it allows you to understand your preferences, right? So platforms like Amazon and these other platforms, particularly e-commerce platforms, they track your purchase patterns and they will know based on what you ordered. Obviously, they'll make a recommendation. All of that is, machine learning or AI on the platforms, and they learn that based on your habits. But they also group everyone like you together and they start making some sort of predictions in terms of habits. And those are the kinds of things that allow you as a business owner to get more sophisticated when it comes to converting customers, right? And also keeping them and upselling them, right? The last M is measurement, right? Now, as a business leader, you're pretty much expected to understand. Well, you're focused on growing your revenue, yes, but it's important for you to create a strategy, roll them out, but also be able to measure and see how successful it is, right? And I don't want to get too technical necessarily, but there are multiple for multiple versions of the return on marketing investment formula. Very simple version is return minus marketing investment divided by your marketing investment. And the definition of return, some people just use your incremental sales figure. Some people remove cost of sales and really just focus on gross profit. But the bottom line is that, and some others, like particularly financial institutions, may focus on customer lifetime value, because they don't just want to get a new credit card user. No, they want to get a user, yes, maybe through a bank, setting up a bank account or getting a credit card, but also over a period of time, they're taking loans, they're doing other things and other products within the family. So once you determine what your return is, then you look at all of your marketing investment, all of the creative costs, agency costs, platform costs that you might have utilized, then you're able to very quickly and easily calculate your return on marketing investment. Now, I'm just going to go through a very quick list of KPIs and their measurements, because again, I'm cognizant of the time and I do want to leave some time for Q&A. But, at each stage, so if for example, your KPI is to increase brand awareness, brand mentions, searches, impressions, etc. Those will be your KPIs. And you'd go about measuring that using analytics platforms across your website, social media, or maybe brand monitoring tools. If you want to generate leads, for example, so lead generation is critical for you. You want to create, not just get marketing qualified leads, but you want to now convert those leads into actual customers and loyal customers. Then, leads and their conversion rate is something that is important to measure. The cost per lead is also critical. And, their lead tracking tools and software that you would use. Some people just use a simple CRM platform. Once you capture your leads, then you're able to see how many leads you get compared to the initial investment in your lead generation campaign. If driving sales and revenue, for example, is critical for you, but then your total sales would be your KPI, and your conversion rate, your overall sales conversion rate would be something that you would focus on. And most e-commerce platforms or even CRM platforms actually allow you to track that, and they create dashboards for you to track that going all the way through. If you want to improve engagement, right? So you might not be so focused on acquisition. You want to just engage the community or the tribe that you've created. Then you would look at engagement statistics on these different platforms. And of course, you utilize the analytics on your various platforms, right? Again, same thing. If you're looking at expanding your market reach, well, you would focus on market penetration, your geographic spread. If you're really targeting only people in Trinidad and Tobago or the Caribbean, then in each market you will want to drill into, and you would want to see how best you performed by doing your own surveys to see how did people see your brand, did they interact with it, what was the feedback, etc. Fan satisfaction, Net Promoter Score is an easy one, and you could do that, use surveys, driving traffic, so visitors, unique visitors particularly, and various tools, website analytics tools, etc. I mentioned engagement and improving conversion rates. And I think the key overall, brand reputation is another one that, it's important to get a sense of what is the brand sentiment. You could do that through surveys, etc., on various channels, but finding out what the market is saying about you and your brand is important, right? At the start, I mentioned that the bonus M, if you will, is, marketing technology, right? And, the way I see it is that at each of these, across each of these M's, there are various tools, many different tools, and I'm just going to touch on a few now, but there are many different tools that you can utilize at each stage, right? So just to broadly look at it, and then I'll dive into like a marketing technology stack, and I'll close at that point, right? So, at each M, so at the, the strategies level, the master plan level, you can use AI, generative AI, to help you in crafting your own marketing strategy, and also create the content and the messages that are customized for each of the platforms. Obviously, ChatGPT is the most common one, but I mean, Gemini and Claude are other platforms that are fairly useful. And very soon you'd find that all of these platforms, most of your common tools or platforms will have AI integrated with it. So for example, Adobe launched their integration of generative AI to their platform, whereas you could just click certain areas and create an ocean or background or trees, etc. You can they integrated AI into their platform to allow for that. You see Microsoft investment in OpenAI and integration with Copilot now allows you with a few prompts to create a range of content. You could create an entire PowerPoint presentation just with a few prompts based on what you describe, who your audience is, what you're looking for. And so more and more what you're going to find is that in every aspect of your life, you're going to be interacting with tools that have some type of integration with AI. AI has always been around. It's just you probably weren't aware that you're using it, right? So, Siri and Alexa and all of these platforms all have been using AI. The recommendation engine on Netflix and Amazon have all been running using AI. So it's important to understand the inflection point that we're at, because now the tools are being handed to you as entrepreneurs that allow you to automate many different areas, particularly for marketing, that allow you to scale, and without you needing to learn or appreciate marketing, maybe even without you having to hire a freelancer per se, but at least certainly get you off the ground with the basics of the marketing strategy and creation. In terms of your market segments and your audience, you can use Google Trends to determine what are the keywords and what is topical now, so that you can start understanding what your audience is focused on. SEMrush allows you to integrate search engine marketing and search engine optimization, especially if you have digital assets, so websites, etc., allow you to integrate that and customize or optimize rather for your audience. I'm particularly, happy about using AI for persona modeling, right? So we spoke about getting detail in your persona creation. Well, guess what? You can actually create an avatar or create your own AI model of your audience. And now with generative AI, you can even start asking it questions like, hey, I need you to act as if you are this particular type of persona with this kind of lifestyle, behavioral pattern, preference, blah, blah, blah. How would you react to this marketing message? And a prompt like that will allow the generative AI platforms to now act as if they are your audience, and you can now start feeding it content and testing your own content before you post it, right? So there's so much that is available to you now in terms of AI tools and platforms that it allows you to truly scale, especially as an entrepreneur. Media mix, yes, you can use Lumni, Trello, and a number of other different platforms to share content across different channels. Creating content is important. So yes, Canva actually has evolved quite a bit so much so that they've been given even some of the larger, more sophisticated tools like Adobe's in the Adobe suite a run for the money, because they themselves have also integrated AI in their offering, right? So again, these are just samples of tools. On the measurement front, obviously, you have analytics. BrandWatch is a platform that allows you to do monitoring and monitoring and testing and checking for mentions of your brand. Hootsuite as well. So there are a number of different tools. I'll just go through very quickly a couple examples of a truly well-rounded marketing technology stack, even as an entrepreneur. Some very simple ones that you can use. Note that each of these have like starter packs, cheaper versions that you can use, sometimes free versions that you can use, and then start graduating upward. I'm sure most of you are familiar with content management platforms, CRMs, marketing tools, social media management platforms, SEO, and content optimization platforms, advertising technologies. So doing your ads, both on Meta as well as Google Ads, and putting a little bit of ad spend behind it so that you can get in front of your audience. That's important. Marketing automation platforms, HubSpot is one of them, Marketo is another, that allow you to create, even MailChimp you can use to create not just your email blast, but a more sophisticated workflow of messages that is even automated. So for example, I send an email with a link in that email, and I set up the workflow so that 2 days later or 5 days later, the people that didn't open the email, they get one follow-up email. The people that opened the email but didn't click on the link, they get another follow-up email. The people that opened the email and clicked on the link, they get a third different email. And all of that can be structured and set up in advance, programmed, and you don't need to do anything thereafter. You're basically just letting the process unfold, and people go through the workflow. And then ultimately, you'd find that the people who get into your CRM or your database are people who are really, really ready for purchase, or right at the point of conversion, right? I spoke about having your data and your business intelligence platform linking with other platforms, Canva and Adobe Creative Cloud. For video marketing, there's so many different platforms now. Platforms like Descript, and using AI that allow you to create. So you shoot one video, and from that video, you can use something like Descript, for example, where it takes out your transcript and it can create a blog from that. It can chop up your video and actually now create multiple pieces of content for you. It can even strip out the audio and use that as a podcast. So you can now create multiple pieces of content with just one video, for example. And again, this is where AI really is it has allowed people to scale and automate at a faster rate. And if you have a small team, influencer marketing, I mentioned that before, that is something that has evolved, and it goes beyond just hey calling up Certified Samson and say, hey, do a video for me. There's a process of vetting the right or discovering the right influencer, managing the campaign, performance analysis, optimization of the campaigns as you go forward, product placement within the videos, etc. And as I mentioned, we launched a company that is focused on some aspects of influencer marketing as well. Shameless plug. And lastly, if you have a small team, right, it might just be you, fine. But if you do have a small team, you might find tools like Slack, Asana, good, useful project management and collaborative tools that allow you to work on the fly, and most of these are fairly cost effective and cheap, right? So now I've covered a lot of ground, and I mean, I'm still amazed that I'm still at the hour mark, because usually each one of these areas would typically be a session by itself. But I'd stop here, and here's my offer, quote unquote. There are two offers really. One, the QR code is to download a copy of the ebook that was done. If you do sign up for it now, you would have the opportunity to get, I'm in the process of updating it, especially given the advent of AI and a lot of these other tools. I'm updating it, and you'll get obviously early access to the updated ebook, as well as the academy business. We have the 5 M's. It's a free course, so you can go in and sign up for that course and do that there as well. All right, so Ramon, I'll pass it back over to you. I know we're just about over time, but I mean, I'm happy to get any questions that people may have.
So thank you very much, Brevard. The questions persons may have in the and feel free to engage Brevard. Brevard, you have a question here. How can we access the ebook?
Okay, so yeah, so you can scan the QR code if you can now, or you can type in, I can put the URL at the bottom, but it's easier to just scan the QR code. And okay, I'll drop the URL in the chat here now so that you can get it, and maybe access it later on.
Any questions for Brevard while we have him on the floor? Brevard, I have a question from a chamber perspective. I have a lot of members, for example, small and medium-sized businesses, and let's just start with the micro businesses. Within the last year, a lot of micro businesses have joined the chamber. Obviously, they have seen the benefit of joining a chamber, being in a network of persons, being a network of like-minded entrepreneurs. What would be one of the first things you'll tell someone who has started a business, as you mentioned, as you ended the conversation? It's them and themselves, them and a colleague, them and a cousin, them and an aunt running the business. What are some of the quick and cheap, smart tactics that could be utilized for them to get that initial engagement for their brand, or it's a micro business?
Well, as I said, like, the reality is that you need to understand your audience. Even if you're a 1-man, 2-man, 3-woman show, you need to understand who your audience is. Your audience doesn't need to know that you're a 1-man or 3-woman show, right? They just need to interact with content that is relevant to them, and ensure that you, as you're creating your content on the channels that they spend time on, you're creating content that resonates with them. Right now, I know most people will like, I don't have time for this. Like, I really don't have time to sit down and create create a content calendar even. So guess what? That's where generative AI also helps, right? You can go in and type in create a content calendar for a 30-day month for this particular demographic. Assuming that I am, you describe your business, etc., and I want to have a content calendar, and maybe even give me hints or prompts for images to use. And you can literally get at least a starter pack, as I call it, for a content calendar. And at that point in time, you can now start tweaking and customizing that calendar for yourself. And then there are other tools that allow you to just literally schedule, whether it's native to the platform, you go on LinkedIn, on Facebook or whatever, and you schedule each of those messages yourself, or you use tools, as I mentioned before, Loomly and other platforms that you sit down one day, a weekend, and you just literally take all of those pieces of content and you put them into the scheduler, and literally every single day you are posting something new, but you're not literally going to your platform and sharing that at that point in time, right? It's scheduled and it's automated. And that's how you are able to scale yourself. You know, far too often people seem to, you know, things like Carnival surprise them, right? You know when Carnival is up to 2040, right? Or on beyond. You know when Christmas is the 25th of December every year. So you know when those dates are. So therefore you can, in fact, in advance, create content that is going to be published on that day that is linked or aligned with your brand and your audience.
All right. We have a question from Clayton Ben, and Clayton says, very well done, Brevard. Thanks for the presentation. If you are now starting out providing financing services, one, what's the best approach to finding out what's your best avatar? And two, for a sophisticated audience, what would you suggest as the best media mix strategy?
Yeah, so I think it applies really across the board, right? So if you're thinking about financial services or providing financial services, you know, you also really need to understand who you are targeting. Now, some financial advisors, they may try to segment. So some might focus on a younger demographic because you're really trying to get them aware of what is possible. Some people might be looking at more senior folks and trying to upsell them on other products, etc. So identify what your niche is, and then especially when, to your point, if there's you have a sophisticated audience, then it means that you need to have a combination of touch points and pieces of content that stitches the story together. So for example, if a sophisticated person who you're trying to provide financial services to, you might have an infographic that speaks to you know, financial services at a certain life cycle, for example, and that is branded for you. You might also have an email newsletter where you're sharing tips and content. You may also have, you know, video content or podcasts. And each of these would now connect with your audience at different times. Some of them are on demand. And that allows you to continue to bring people into your funnel. And again, once you have that CRM, that platform where you're getting your leads, you're using some email marketing platform that allows you to systematically feed them with content. You're not even hard selling, eh? You're not like, hey, we're the best financial services institution and therefore you should work with us. I'm just providing useful tips for you. Think about any relationship, right? Anybody that walks into the room and says, hey, well, buy from me. You know, I have the best XYZ. They're probably not going to get the sale. Whereas if you're saying, hey, here is a useful, here are some tips. Here's a recommendation. Here is something that is useful that I think you'll find useful. And over time, they will gravitate to what you and your brand, because guess what? You help them think about something differently, or, you know, as part of their consideration or decision-making process.
Thanks a lot, Sina Ryan Haddad, afternoon, good evening. He has a question, excellent presentation. Do you have a question, Sina Ryan, or just comment in Brevard for his presentation?
Thanks for well, first to begin with, I must say it's an excellent presentation, Brevard. It's really nice. Ramon, thank you for having this. I think all businesses need to Brevard pivot, you know, the business structure to factor in marketing. And the way this was presented is really, really excellent. It touched on all the key points. Think about it, you know, businesses in the chamber vary from small to medium and probably one or two large. So in terms of budgeting, how does one determine How does one determine how much your company can put forward for something like this? But what has been your experience with say the small entrepreneurs and some of the medium-sized businesses? What kind of budget would suffice in terms of getting you at least close to a wide enough target audience that you're looking at?
Sure. So I think ultimately, what tends to happen is that your goals will drive your budget, right? So if, for example, you are seeking leads or incremental qualified leads as part of your target, then it's very easy to now drill down into what is the actual cost per lead, right? Most times, some of the work that we do with our clients is that based on our experience, we are able to calculate what is the cost per lead and therefore offer a budget. A rule of thumb generally has been larger organizations tend to have about 10% of their budget as a rule of thumb for digital. Smaller companies, as I say, it really varies because ultimately it really boils down to who you're trying to target. So I can't give an absolute dollar value per se, because that will differ based on the entrepreneur, the business, etc. But what I would say is that, sometimes people may feel as if, well, they take marketing as an afterthought. Like they don't bother with it, they leave it, they focus on delivering the service, getting the infrastructure in for the customer service, the product itself, understandably so. But they also neglect, and they almost feel as if, well, it will market itself. I will build it and they will come. But the unfortunate thing is that you actually need to ensure that there's awareness of your product, that people actually are able to try it. And as I shared, I mean, not all of it is ad spend, right? Some of it is, free trials of your product and getting that in front of your audience. And those things are not going to cost much. Like if you attract, let's say, in an upmarket space, you capture data, and you start sending those folks offers and email. It's going to take some time, but that will be a cost-effective way over time to build versus really trying to double and triple down with, ad spend across multiple platforms. That's the way that larger companies would operate.
Okay, thank you.
I have one final question from Calcia Clark. Calcia, you can open your mic and address Brevard.
Kalika. Hi. Hi, good night, everyone.
My apologies,
again, no problem. Thank you very much for your presentation. And whereas I understand all the hats of an entrepreneur, marketing, as you said, is very time consuming. One of the problems that I think one of the problems that I'm facing is that I have somebody that will help me with my marketing, but they are trying to push for me to put my face out there because their approach is because of the services that I'm offering. They think that I should be there in front. And my argument is I'm selling a brand, not myself, right? So do you think, my question basically goes forth as to say, do you think it is absolutely necessary to capture the audience with putting a face to the business? Or if I'm selling my brand because that is what I want people to know, I want people to know my company, which way is it necessary to go?
Well, I think in this case, it really depends on the product or service that you're offering, right? Because if dependent on the space that you're in, if having a personal touch and actually knowing somebody and having that interaction and that personal one-on-one and interaction, I know the owner, I know this person, and therefore that is going to influence them in the actual purchase, then yes, it is important.
Okay.
If however, building a brand, because you can build a brand from scratch and employ certain techniques to just build the brand affinity to that brand and therefore people will just start loving the brand. I mean, Coca-Cola, nobody knows who the story
Right,
behind.
correct, exactly. My thing is that nobody knows who's Massey. They know Massey, understand?
Right. So, but that, bear in mind that takes time, one, and then two, if it's a one-on-one type interaction, or is really a personalized thing, and especially if maybe, I guess, the person felt that, you know, your personality is such that
my personality is
people
that, you know.
you want people to know you, right? And
Right.
now that can come out in different ways. That could come out, yes, either you as the face of the brand, or nowadays you can create an avatar. Like for one client, we actually were creating an AI agent, right? Which is basically, yes, it's separate from an avatar. Avatar is just like the picture, and it looks and feels like a human. But when you have an AI agent, that agent now can interact with people as if they are a human, right? And so that's where we're going now in terms of marketing. So you could potentially create that, so that allows you to scale yourself. Because if you can't be in multiple places at the same time. So once you're able to start leveraging technology and tools, then it allows you now maybe to create that brand. There's also the advent of AI influencers now, where people are creating their own AI influencers, not engaging a certified Samson, but creating their own. And so maybe, yeah, you create an AI influencer that is infused with your personality and all of the traits that the person thinks is positive. And then that way you're able to engage your audience. And you know, you reap the benefits of all.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
No problem.
Hi, hi, good night. Hi, good night, everyone.
Hi.
Hello, good night.
Sorry, yes, hi, good night.
Go ahead, Karen. The floor, the mic is open. Go ahead.
Right. I have a similar question to the young lady that just spoke, right? Something similar. My page, I do customized cookies, right? And my page is a very on Instagram professional page. It shows the images of mainly my cookies. There's a few videos showing me when I go to like pop-up events, but I mostly focus on the table, and I will show my face sometimes also. But what I'm scared of, I don't mind putting my image or myself on my page, my face on my page, but I'm afraid that my question is, would that lower the professionalism of my page in any way? Because when people go to my page right now, they say, oh, I love your page, it's so I'm so pretty, and the images are so clear, so clean, it looks so professional. But I'm also being told, when I go to certain meetings like this one for marketing and different meetings, yes, just like the young lady said, that you have to put your face there on your page more, and like do videos with yourself talking and showing yourself. I'm wondering if that would break down the professionalism of the page.
No, I don't think so. It really depends on how you do it, right? So for example, okay, yes, you may have the product there and people see and like the product, but if, for example, you, I don't know, do some content actually showing how you make it, right? Or you know, you're talking about your recipe, but leaving out your secret sauce or your secret ingredient or what have you. That gives you know, allows people to connect directly. They see themselves in the kitchen actually creating it. But it also, you know, it provides useful content, you know, and it may even provide branding opportunities and sponsorship opportunities, right? So you may even have a sponsor, flour or some other one of the ingredients might want to partner with you because you're seeing and you're creating content, and they're like, oh, all right, we're seeing that this content is gaining traction. Why not, you know, apply our brand in here, and now you benefit from either money or free product for your cookies, and you lower your costs. So there are ways that you can now like use your platform to your advantage, and like really now create a mix of content, because after a while there's only so many pictures of cookies that gonna look appealing to your audience, right?
Yeah.
And even if you use different molds or what have you, it's still a cookie, right? So I think getting different ways to like truly engage your audience and map that out. Maybe you don't have to do a video every day, but even if you say, well, you know what, once a month I'm gonna do a video that is, a recipe, or maybe you're in the kitchen and you're doing a live session, whatever it is, like mix up your content so that you don't lose your audience, and you always keep it fresh.
Okay. And that would not, as I said, really break down the professionalism of the page.
No, well, once you do it, so again, obviously with modern day mobile phones, you can do pretty decent video, etc. Right? So you don't need to have a expensive camera, etc. to do all that. You can do a pretty decent video, but you need to still keep it professional. You still need to ensure that you're delivering the content in a particular way. So what you could do is create some examples, run it by a few people, trusted friends, maybe even some people who fall within your target audience, and get their feedback on, hey, what do you think about this? Would you react to this if this was on my page?
All right. Understand. Yes. Okay, I understand. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Sure.
Brings us to the end of this segment. I'd like to thank Brevard for his time, for his knowledge, for sharing his knowledge, and really inspiring persons to go out there and do their own content, develop their own material. As Brevard mentioned, he has a free ebook that he's would have shared with you guys. Please just scan; it's still up on the page. For those who don't have it, we'll quite gladly share the link to you after the meeting. I also encourage you to look into Brevard's Caribbean Ideas Academy. There are lots of courses there, programs that may benefit you and your organization. So feel free. At this point in time, I'd like to thank Brevard personally from the GTCIC. Thanks for your time. Thanks for your energy. It was a fantastic presentation. I hope Brevard could join us on the 26th of April at our mixer, where he'll get to probably meet some persons in the flesh, and probably he could field some questions, corner him in a corner with a drink in his hand, and pepper him with questions. So we have a business mixer at the chamber at the Eastern Credit Union in La Jolla Auditorium on the 26th of April. Inviting all and sundry to attend. And some of our speakers in the past few sessions will be there, so you could field further questions if you may have. So Brevard, for example, talking about marketing and marketing strategy. We have Leslie Leafook talking about AI, and we had Shiva Parasaram talking about cybersecurity. So all those guys will be at our business mixer. Feel free to contact us. We have our email address, gtchamber@gmail.com, and 322-4482, our contact information, as well as you can shoot us a WhatsApp. My number is on our website. Feel free to shoot us a WhatsApp, and we could organize to get information for you about tickets if you're interested in attending. So ladies and gents, thanks again for your time. Brevard, thanks again for sharing your time, your knowledge, your experience. We look forward to seeing you at some point in the future on a different forum where we get to probably discuss more and get a little more time to discuss. Thanks again, guys. Do have a good night, and look forward to the next part in our webinar series, the Mind Your Business series under the GTCIC. Have a good evening, everyone.